Thank you, thank you. All right, let's do it. Let's decentralize the world. Let's show them how it's done. All right, so basically, I'll be doing some jokes in between so that you're interested. But in general, we are going to talk about Web3 and how do we decentralize something which is very as important as querying blockchains, all right? I think the graph is one of such protocols which is not just decentralizing the query markets, but also is making a standard to making indexing happen on a blockchain. I can say right now there are a few standards to write information inside a blockchain. One of them is EVM. And I guess the graph is one such which has created a standard to query the information from a blockchain via subgraphs. So let's just get in. Basically, the graph wants to be as decentralized as possible, and we have taken the first step in which the graph foundation is the governing body, and there are a few core devs working on it. I work for EdgeNode, which is one of the core devs, and there are other core devs also working on different structures. For example, Streaming Fast, which works on streaming the information in a parallelized manner and getting the queries in a very decentralized manner. Similarly, we have the Guild, which are the champions of GraphQL, so on and so forth for others as well. So that's about it. But the first question, which my friend Cami yesterday also explained, but I'd like to explain it in a different manner, is why the graph? So basically, I see, like, in coming to Korea, I see a lot of people stuck on their phone all the time. In fact, so much stuck that half of them have to, not even see the signals on the board. They see it down the side, right? So much stuck. And I'm sure most of them, given how good looking they are, must be on Instagram, right? And basically on Instagram, how many times you post a picture? If somebody is as good looking as me, might be once in 10 years or something. But most of them are posting photos once, but getting the information from that post, like Instagram, maybe 1,000 times a day, right? So you write inside a particular data structure once, but read from it 10,000 times, right? As of now, I would say the industry or the ecosystem is very much focused on writing inside the blockchain, and that's where Ben from Starkware is working on, and such other L2 protocols are working on. But I think if we want to make Web3 a standard, blockchain a reality, in getting the push forward to decentralization in internet, we will need to at some point in time get reads from the blockchain also in a very awesome and nice manner. And the biggest problem is that when you try to query a blockchain, you get a block like this. You just need the blue information, but you'll have to get through all the blocks, study a particular part of it, and then get that kind of an information, which is not just tough, rigorous, but also makes blockchains really tough to get information from. So blockchain, I'm sure, is a security-first technology, and they have been built only to have security, decentralization, censorship resistance, and stuff like that we all stand for. But to make blockchain really implementable, we'll have to not just get the rights in a right manner with scaling, but also do the reads from the blockchain in a decentralized fashion, and also in the right manner, so that our code does not look like this. This is so, I would not use the words if I'm not allowed to, right? This is for any developer, this is a very big nightmare. Just scanning every block, finding every information, getting all the information, and then querying it. Oh my God. No wonder why blockchain engineers are so highly paid, right? Okay, cool. That's all a joke on me. But anyways, so that's how you actually get the information if you don't use the graph, because people query it directly from the blockchain. It's like a user interface that exists that writes inside the blockchain, and we have awesome L2 solutions to do that with scaling. But how do you read that information? Either you query every block, find every place, and then get the information, or the second way, which is even more shittier and not Web3 centric, is using servers. You store the information in server and get that information. That's not at all Web3, right? Remember, decentralization does not matter until it does, right? There are only black swan events when you come to know that decentralization is something we stand for. And we have seen that in the past few months with CFI going abrupt and stuff like that. And that's why we need to build for future with the graph, all right? So the graph is the query layer between your blockchain and the user interface. You write every information, using the blockchain, Starkware maybe. Ben, you told me to say that. So yeah, Starknet tokens. Just kidding. So you get that information and you want to get that information to your user interface. For that, you need to use something like a middleware, which is the graph protocol. And that's where the infrastructure comes in. I'm sure it's highly sophisticated, but because we are in a builders conference, I would like to go through it in a very, very quick manner, all right? So basically, what happens is your dApp first does a transaction, right, and writes inside a smart contract, which has events triggering on it. Every smart contract in Solidity as of now has events, right? And those events are what are caught by GraphNode. They actually listen to those kind of events. Those events then are stored via the graph protocol in a storage and made such that you can query them via the GraphQL API. So we go through it once again. Little sophisticated, but let's understand it. Basically, you have a smart contract. There are events. Some event is triggered. That is inside a graph node. That graph node actually gets the information, stores it, and it's in such a manner that you can query it via the GraphQL API. That's how simple and awesome this is. And I would say GraphNode is open sourced, and I would say one of those awesome public goods that people can use to query information. Right now, I would say most of the Web3 world, including Uniswap, SushiSwap, all the awesome DeFi, NFT protocols either use the graph or use the graph locally, running their graph nodes locally. So, you know, our biggest competitors is us only. Again, so that's how, like, you know, it's industry standards we are making with the graph. This is one such Uniswap subgraph, and basically why don't you see it in the forefront is because it is powering this. The API, if you're a developer, you go on the network end and you find out how do you get this kind of information in Uniswap, you'll be able to find out it uses the api.thegraph.com/Uniswap v2, and that's how the graph actually empowers the infrastructure of Web3. So this is how it works, right? When you are creating a smart contract, make sure you have certain events which can be fired via subgraphs so that you can get the information to your UI. That's how a Web3 stack is built. You cannot run servers on Ethereum and call it dApp. No. That's just an application running on Ethereum, and maybe you want to launch a token to have money grab for. That's not how Web3 will be built. If you really want to stand for Web3, really want to stand for decentralization, you will have to use the Web3 stack. You cannot use AWS servers and call it decentralized, because I'm sure Amazon, as of what I know today, is not decentralized. The stock price is still up, right? That's why. No, again. So I'll keep cracking these. One of these will work, believe me. So basically, that's why you need to use the Web3 stack. And if you don't understand how Web3 stack works, again, I would suggest you to check Cammy's workshop yesterday, in which she explained that when you're building a dApp, you need certain middlewares so that that blockchain that you're querying from is usable. And one such middleware to use is the graph. Right? We are right now live on 39 chains. As of now, sorry, Ben, not on Starknet, but soon. Right? Similarly, we are live on 39 chains. Most of the EVM chains, as well as Near, which is a non-EVM chain, and we just announced being live on Cosmos. So if you're building such an important critical piece of infrastructure, and I'm lecturing you guys on why decentralization matters and giving you certain quotes like Steve Jobs levels, like almost. how do I call, like, you know, if I'm working on a middleware that is decentralized? Just imagine you are doing something as important as querying information from the blockchain to the dashboard. And from that queried information, people will be taking, let's say, some arbitrage trades. If that information is rugged or is, like, you know, censored by a particular database, then I would say we are not there yet. We are still building a middleware which is centralized, and again, it has points of failure and stuff like that. And that's why, boom, we launched the Graph Network. Not today, 1 year ago, okay? So basically, we launched the Graph Network. The Graph Network is the way you decentralize querying in blockchains. if you are querying a decentralized blockchain, it has to be in a decentralized manner, right? So basically, back in 2019, we launched the hosted service, which was an MVP, just to make sure that what we are building and the architecture that we have is good enough to actually query the Web3 world and make sure it works. We got the MVP, we got most amount of adoption, most of the DeFis of the world, most of the NFTs of the world do use the Graph hosted service at that point in time. And then we were like, no, this is not it. Then we launch a token, then we realize that's not how it works. You have to make the decentralization keep on happening, right? And that's when we launched the Graph network. It's like the decentralized version of the hosted service. In the hosted service, there is one particular entity indexing your information, putting the data, and putting it out to the GraphQL information. But in the graph, there are different participants which actually make this whole sophisticated querying model come to truth. Just imagine you have to query something as sophisticated and decentralized as Ethereum, right? And you have to do it in a decentralized manner. I'm sure it is tough, and that's why there are certain things I would like to explain you about this. Basically, the graph participants, again, I touched a brief about them in my middle talk, but again, I would like to talk a little bit about them. The first one are the indexers. The indexers actually index the information that is required by you. There are thousands of subgraphs, right? And indexers pick a few of these subgraphs so that they can index that information from you. The second one are the curators. How do indexers come to know which particular subgraph to index, which particular place to go for to getting which particular information? And that's where curators signal. Curators signal the graph token on the graph network saying that this subgraph is very important. Something like cryptofees.info, such an important page. From that page, I think most of us come to know which particular protocol is doing great, how much query fees one is generating. And if that is querying api.thegraph.com, by the way, it does. How do you make sure that it is not censored, right? Curators make sure that they curate enough on such subgraph that most amount of indexing is done from them, right? So curators curate on a particular subgraph, and more the curation, more the indexers. More the indexers, more the decentralization, right? Then we have delegators, which are like, you can say, passive income earners on the graph network, and then there are consumers. Uniswap subgraph was created by the Uniswap team, but it is actually queried by many dashboards of the world, many applications of the world. There is Rotkey app and whatnot, which actually uses the Uniswap subgraph to get information in their front end, right? So basically, subgraphs are created by dApps, but are used by the world because we believe that APIs or information is again a public good. Simple example, Twitter launched their API back in 2015, I guess, or 16, and many people built businesses out of the Twitter API just to get information and things like that. And when the information or all this API model became successful, they were like, yeah, just F off, we are closing the API business. All the businesses that were created from the Twitter API were shut down, right? So that's why I believe that APIs that are built in the world have to be a public good. Anybody can query them, anybody can get them, and that too in a decentralized fashion. And that's where the graph comes in. You can say the graph is one of those public goods in which information on the blockchain is queryable in a decentralized fashion only if you use the graph network, right? So this is how it works. Again, just I was a very dumb kid growing up. I used to revise 100 times and then also get 2 out of 50. So I'm going to follow that again. Basically, there is a query market, right? Query market actually has all the subgraphs listed. For example, this is a query market, right, that the graph network has. There are different subgraphs that are deployed by different people, right? But the curators are the one which tell you which subgraph is the most important one. As of now, you can see Lido. The merge is happening, Lido is coming. It is one of the most important subgraph, might need most number of decentralization. By that we mean most number of indexers, and that's why it has 175K GRT curation in it, right? So more the curation, more indexers index the Lido subgraph. More the indexers index, more is the decentralization that happens. How do you consume the information from the Lido subgraph? You go on the subgraph, catch the API and start querying it. You pay per query. cost of service is pay per query, right? And right now we have 165 indexers, 10,000 delegators, 2,500 curators, and many subgraph. If you're a subgraph developer, go develop a subgraph on the network. I'll be around. If you are a dApp who wants to migrate and wants to taste the flavor of decentralization, please catch me up. I'm one of those who really like the decentralization ice cream, and that's why gelato is my favorite ice cream. Okay, cool. Anyways, curators, which are 2,500, then there are delegators, and basically, if you are somebody who understands the industry and knows which subgraph can be important, go curate on the graph network. If you are somebody who maximizes why decentralized querying is important, go ahead and delegate on the graph. If you are somebody very technical, right, somebody who can really write Cairo code, then please go and index on the graph. All right? So basically, I believe right now there is a lot of hype and a lot of real projects. And you really understand which protocol or project is doing good when the revenue or real people using the graph or that particular protocol are existing, right? I think there are many people who store information in the Arweave thing. And that's why, Arweave is one such which has real value accruing on it. People pay in Arweave tokens to store information in Arweave. But second one is the graph, right? If you want to get decentralized query, you pay in GRT token. And since we launched the network, we have like a 2,200 year-on-year increment in the number of subgraphs that have deployed and the kind of queries we are getting. So I would suggest you guys to check it out. So there are you're not the first one who would ever deploy to the graph network. If you are there are so many who already exist. It's just that you will be the one which will be tasting the flowers of decentralization right now. All right? So that's about it. Now talking a little bit about the Ethereum mission and how the graph is aligned on that. Some of you might have seen Vitalik's talk in which he told that there is a merge happening right now. All of us are excited about it. Yay. I hope it does, right? I know the timelines, but cool. Yeah, Ethereum has paid for this, so yeah, cool. So anyways, basically, there is merge happening right now, then there is purge happening, which is sharding and stuff, and then there is purge happening. Purge is basically in which Ethereum will get over all the historic data that exists in Ethereum. Right now, you want to get information, you have a full node running. If you don't want to use the graph, you start querying information from Ethereum. But as per Ethereum and many people who are working in Ethereum, including Vitalik, they think that it's not Ethereum's goal to read information from the blockchain. It is just there to write information from the blockchain and other L2s to write the information. But it does not want to get people to read that information. And that's why EIP 444 is coming, Purge is coming, and that's where the graph fits in. Ethereum in the Web3 world will be the one which will be storing the information or storing the final state, where Starkware will be the one which is doing all the query, all the computation. I hope. But if you want to get that blockchain information outside, right? How do you get that? I think you have to use the graph then. Right now, it's an option to be decentralized. In the future, it will be a compulsion to have decentralized querying. That's why I would suggest you all guys to start on the mission, build a subgraph, and I'm sure you're not going to regret it. And because, we are so much into decentralization and we believe we are solving this problem of Ethereum, of EIP 444 and the blockchain data, we have announced the sunset of the hosted service, which is the centralized product of the graph as well. There could have been an option to okay, the hosted service is working great. Maybe the graph network requires certain kind of participation and it's a little pain point. Let's just ask people to pay for this kind of service. But the graph protocol does not stand for that. The graph protocol stands for decentralization, and that was the reason it was created. And that is the reason we have told that we are gonna sunset the hosted service soon, right? We are gonna sunset the centralized infrastructure so that in the future, whoever queries information from the blockchain does not get censored. Whoever creates businesses, like Twitter, people did on Twitter API, creates businesses on blockchain information, they never get censored, they have no problems in running their own businesses, and basically all the information and data of the world is decentralized. So this is the roadmap I would suggest you guys all to check, because there are so many things that we have to do. I would say, like Vitalik once said, that Ethereum is 40% complete, Bitcoin is 80% complete. I would say the graph is 20% complete. Don't quote me on that, but something like that, okay? Around 20% complete, and there is so much that we have to do. So join the mission, make subgraphs, index on the blockchain, curate on the network, query the graph network, and I'll see you around in the Web3 world.